Hi, I hope you're having a fabulous October. I love fall. I love Halloween, spooky stories. I'm going to do a rewatch of Practical Magic, Hocus Pocus, and Scream. I drink from my pumpkin mug. I love fall. Also, I'm about to start reading Erin Bauman's In the Dead of the Night. And the tagline for that is, "It's no secret that the abandoned estate across the lake from Camp Durham is haunted." I mean, definitely Halloween, right? I will start that after I finish Frida McFadden. Want to know a secret? The blurb for that reminds me of A Simple Favor with Blake Lively and Anna Kendrick, and I love that movie. So that's the blurb. YouTube baking sensation April Masterson knows the secret to the perfect gooey brownies, or how to make key lime squares that will melt in your mouth. But if you keep watching her offline, you may find out some other secrets about April. Secrets she'd rather you did not know. Sounds good, right? I just started that last night. So those are the two books that I'm planning to read in the next couple of probably days or week. Writing Rise, I'm deep in revision mode for Trick, Love or Treat, which is a steamy rom-com, and it has turned into a novel. It's the story of my life. This was a short story that I wrote last year, which I wanted to turn into a novella. It's now a short novel. It's better like this. Honestly, it works for the story, it works for the characters, but the point was that I wanted to write a novella. Full happily ever after novella, not just a prequel novella like I've been doing. I wanted to have a story within about 30,000 words with a beginning, a middle, and an end, which the novel right now will have that. It will have the HEA at the end, but it's a bit longer than what I thought. That's what she said. You'll get why I said that in a few minutes, I promise. So I'm at the point of writing that, which I need to stop making myself laugh when I'm recording. Also, I first recorded this episode and I realized that my mic was off. So I'm at the point of happy smiling while revising and writing chapters I couldn't write until I figured out something. I've had to learn how to put emotions on the page, like to make sure the emotions are on the page, rather, because for me, they're clear. They're clear from a gesture, like she flipped her hair, she narrowed her eyes, and sometimes I need to make sure that's translated into the page. And I think I'm doing that much better now. And one way that I'm doing that much better, that works for me, is I'm thinking about not only what every character is feeling during the scene that I'm writing, but what emotions I want the reader to feel when they're reading. And I'm crossing my fingers that it works. I think it has, because I had a comment about Dear Santa with Love from a reader that has stuck with me about how she cried happy tears at the end of the book. And that's absolutely what I wanted to achieve. And that's kind of what happened to me when I was writing it, because I thought it was such an impactful, emotional moment and a happy one. And yeah, so that's what I'm thinking now, more intentionally when I'm writing. Do you do that? Do you set up scenes in your mind with a clear goal? How do you set up your scenes? I would love to know. Don't hesitate to leave me a comment. I know on certain podcast providers you can do that, or send me an email at author.elodinowodatsky@gmail.com. So before I dive into my new organizational setup, which is the theme of this week's podcast, and we'll link it a little bit to my Gallup Strengths, because I think they inform the way I'm organizing myself right now, because that's been hard for me to find something that works. I'm going to give you a little bit of a recap about what happened in the past 2 weeks in my writing and self-publishing world. That sounded fancy. So not so fancy. I got rejected for a BookBub. I've been trying to get a BookBub for Most Eligible Scrooge. I think it's the second time in 3 months that I sent a submission request and got rejected. Actually, I should reframe that. I did not get rejected. My book got rejected, because sometimes it's so hard for me. I don't know if it's the same for you, but it's so hard for me to detach myself from my books in terms of like, okay, if a reader doesn't like my book, that doesn't mean they don't like me. Or if I get rejected for a BookBub, I did not get rejected. My book got rejected. I got an email from a French reader who loved Nick and M's story on a different note, happier note. And that made me very happy. Nick and M's story is A Summer Like No Other and always second best. I love connecting with readers. It's one of the things I feel like sometimes, so I don't write into a void, or I feel like sometimes I'm writing into a void. Like I'm writing for myself, but I'm also writing for readers. And getting those emails definitely makes my day. Talking about connecting with readers, the way that I mostly connect with readers is by email via my newsletter. I am pretty sporadic on social media, but I am consistent on my newsletter. So the latest subject lines for my Elodie Novoleski newsletters were in October. On October 4th, I had a little dinosaur emoji, and the subject line was, "I'm in my dinosaur era?" ? The open rate for that was 77.11%. The click rate was 1.49%. And I'm so excited because one reader replied to that email. On October 11th, the subject line was, "When the principal calls you in." Open rate of 70.98%. Click rate of 1.04%. No answers. And this morning, as I'm recording this, I don't have all the data yet, but the subject line is "almost there." That's what she said. Laughing face, laughing face, laughing face emoji. I did not get any unsubscribe on any of those emails. I did not do any A/B testing for the subject lines on those either. Sometimes I do. I test 2 different subject lines and see either which one has the most click rates or the most open rates. Usually I do click rates. I use MailerLite as a newsletter subscribers. I do segment my lists. I actually have a lot of different groups because some readers elected to receive 1 email per month. Some elected to receive only information about some series. Some want to receive emails every 2 weeks, and the majority wants to receive everything every week. I have taken classes on newsletters. I've used Holly Darling. And I was part of a subscription membership kind of thing from Newsletter Ninja, Tamila Breck, which was about automation emails. I don't know if she still has it, but I'm also part of her Facebook group, and I've read her books, which were very helpful as well. I'll link all of that into the episode description and also on my Substack. And on my Substack, what I will have as well is the link to the actual emails that I sent, if you want to take a look, if that's helpful. Just for background, my English speaking list has about 220 readers. Most readers have come from the back of my books, and I've been calling my email list. I've joined some Facebook groups. Kickstarter for Authors is one of the groups I've joined. I'm gathering as much data as possible this time around before deciding whether or not I'm going to do another Kickstarter. You may not remember, but my last Kickstarter did not work. I had more than $1,000 of pledges, but I was trying to get about $3,000 for an audiobook, which audiobooks don't necessarily do very well on Kickstarters. So yeah, I'm thinking about it for a steamy rom-com. So I've been doing research to see if there is an audience for that type of books on Kickstarter in addition to my own audience. And right now, I'm not sure I'm there yet. I've also joined the Facebook group called CKM, Marketing and Advertising Support Group for Authors. Crystal also has a newsletter that is super helpful. One of those emails that really had me thinking and is called, "Is Organic Social Media Worth It?" She also has a free call every month where you can ask her questions. Talking about Substack newsletters, again, I am getting much better at segues. When Less is More is an article by Leslie Penelope, The Imaginary Footnotes, and she mentioned in that article that she would much rather create things for a few people to love instead of for a lot of people to like. I don't know, you read sometimes certain things when you're just nodding along and being kind of like, yes, that just resonated so much with me. She has more information in that article, and I highly recommend reading it. I think that's where I am too. Like right now, I'm talking in this microphone, and I am thinking about the people who are really going to enjoy this episode. And I just thank you for listening. And then she had another article that is called, "Are We Just Burning to Shine?" And in that article, she had a reminder about breathing. And the headline was, for that particular part of the article, it was, "Could you be suffering from screen apnea?" She linked to an NPR article, which is really interesting. And it was pretty mind-blowing because as I was reading, I started sitting straighter like I am right now, and I started breathing a little bit less shallowlessly. Is that a word? I don't know, but my breathing was deeper. So this is your reminder to take a deep breath, inhale, and exhale. And that entire article and reminder is so important. Go check it out and then take a break from your screen if you can. And another article that I've read, which had me thinking, I should do that, was Alison Miller's Love List to Herself. It's a wonderful reminder to look at yourself with kind eyes. I'm linking also to that article, of course. Podcast-wise, if you're feeling stuck in your manuscript, Claire Taylor has a podcast episode about this particular feeling. Really helpful. She goes into the 3 questions she asks writers she works with when they come to her with that particular issue. Wish I'd Known Them for writers had Jessica Firpi on, and they talked about writing compelling save the cats moment. And that, to be honest, had me remembering that I need to make sure I do have that moment in my steamy rom-com that I'm currently revising. And I added 2 little paragraphs in the first 2 chapters. One is about Viola hiding a spider from Carlos because it's the one thing he's terrified of. Well, that and falling in love, of course. And the second is him being the bad guy when it comes to telling her daughter and his daughter that they cannot, telling his daughter and by extension her daughter that they can't get ice cream, when Viola always feels like she's the bad guy because her ex-husband is always the fun one and she feels like she's the only one who, has the boundaries and certain things like that. And she felt helped and supported and seen when he did that. And it was a small moment because they actually have scenes that are pretty antagonistic. I mean, it's not really enemies to lovers because they don't have different goals, but they do have that history, that second chance history that makes them lean into that a little bit. So this was a little recap of my past 2 weeks in self-publishing and writing. And I've been wanting to talk, so today it's really about how to get organized and plan as an author. I've tried a lot of different things that I can recommend if that's more your speed. Pacemaker was one of them, which I found very helpful in order to visualize how much I need to get done in certain projects to get them done at a certain day. However, in the past couple of months or even years, I've been struggling with getting a project done by pre-order time. I've been moving pre-orders, up to a month, and then I had to cancel a book. And for me, that's very difficult to do that. But at the same time, there was no way that I could get stuff done in the way that I thought that I could get done. And it has different reasons for that. One is because I forget. I've done Sarra Cannon HB90, which I think is great for realizing how much time you actually have. And she has her videos are very insightful. I really recommend that if you haven't done that and if you have the money for it and the time for it. And she does it I don't know when is the next one, but I will add her website to the podcast description. But using Pacemaker Press was, again, helpful for me to see. There's a squirrel outside. Sorry. I just looked up and there's a cute little squirrel. And that explains my brain, ladies and gentlemen. I was using it every day, let's say, for about 3 weeks, but then I stopped using it. So I do that a lot. I start using something and then I stop using it. And the reason why I stop using it is because it's not right in front of me. I have to go on it. It's not something that I can move with my own fingers. It doesn't feel as tangible as certain things that I personally need to have in order to make progress on my projects. And when I was talking about the projects that the books that I had to postpone or the one that I had to cancel, having a deadline does help me get out of my thinking. But at the same time, sometimes it's putting me into a box and it's harder to do. So I am putting less books on pre-orders right now so that those are the ones that I know I need and have to get done. And also in a way that really lets me, or let let the projects breathe a little. I think that's going to already work better for me. So I do have certain things on pre-orders, but those are things that I know and have demonstrated in the past that I can get done. So I have one book of pre-order in English instead of 2 books in pre-order in English, so that I know that when that doesn't mean I'm not going to have more. Like, for example, I'm releasing Trick, Love, or Treat is that short story I'm now currently doing into a novella. Well, I'm sorry, novel. But it's not on pre-order because I don't know if I'm going to be ready with it by the time that I want to be ready with it. And also because the characters were not there yet. So, and I cannot put, the one thing I could try that I haven't tried is wait until I have the book done before I put it on pre-order. But for me, that's very hard because if I have something ready, it needs to go. It needs to be published. I need to hit publish. I get endorphins, I'm pretty sure, that way. So I've tried also planners. I've had plenty of planners, paper planners. I tried OneNote. I tried just using a calendar. I tried like an online calendar. I tried so many things, but that's also something that did not really work for me if it doesn't work for me for more than like 3 weeks, I don't think it's really working. Like, it's brand new, I enjoy doing it, and then I stop doing it. It's not really working. I wrote the next part on Monday to explain how I got to the system that's currently working for me. And I say for me because maybe it might work for you, maybe it might not. But if you resonate with some of what I'm about to explain, maybe that's something worth trying. And if you do, please do let me know. I didn't write last weekend. I actually took a break from adding words, deleting words, revising words. And it's Monday morning when I'm typing this, and I actually missed the words I created. I think I'm ready to dive back into the small town Halloween steamy rom-com revision and into my dark-ish Mafia Beauty and the Beast retelling. And since it's Monday morning when I'm starting to draft this podcast episode, a week before I release it on Monday, let me take you with me to the planning of my day week. Knowing that if you speak Becca Syme's Better Faster, those are my top Gallup Strengths. I'll give you my top 12. Achiever, intellection, empathy, input, learner, connectedness, developer, communication, arranger, context, individualization, relator. You might know, and that's just the way I am as well, like even without the Gallup Strengths, this is something that I know about myself. I like to get things done. But that also means that I like to have tasks that I like to get done. So if it's like, for example, I have to publish a Vela episode, or I have to publish, let's say, 8 episodes within a month. If I put as a task for the month, write 8 episodes, and it's in the progress tab, something that I'm working on for the entire month, even if I publish 4 of those and I put little ticks on the post-it or I put little ticks somewhere, it's not going to feel like I've done anything because it still looks in progress. Knowing that about myself has been very helpful because that means that I even need to break up into each episode, knowing what they entail. So I try to use Todoist for that and have little different, tasks. And if you are somebody who doesn't need to see things visually all the time in front of you, or if you can just at the end of the day tick something off, I think Todoist is pretty helpful. But for me, what I've noticed is if it's not in front of me, it feels like it also has not been done. It's easier for me to be more efficient in a way if I see all the moving parts that I can move around on a board in front of me. So as I've said, I've struggled for years to find a system I use consistently. The planners I used were pretty. Again, Sarra Canad's HP90, what it really helped me with is being more realistic with my time and my goals. And I'm now using a modified version of a Kanban board for my weekly and daily goals. Becca Syme's Better Faster Academy has helped me a lot. I cannot remember when I got to Becca Syme's content. I don't know if it was maybe Leslie Penelope talking about it on her podcast. I think it actually was that. One of her episodes where she must have been talking about her strength, and that got me thinking, and I looked it up. And I think I also heard Becca on the Creative Pen podcast. Since then, I've taken several of her classes and attended her online conference. I took Write Better Faster. I took Strengths for Writers and her online conference this year. I'm also part of her Patreon, and I am in the office because she has a Zoom office where writers can go and basically write together online, and so I feel less lonely. From my past work as communication press officer, I also know that I enjoy playing with different moving parts. I was responsible for many different projects at once. I was also coordinating several projects at once. I remember my desktop had Post-its all over it. It made sense. And I was pretty organized, so I may have mentioned that in the podcast before, but on my writing, self-publishing career, I am pretty organized. I'm also pretty organized when it comes to household things. Like, at the same time, I can also be very messy. You just should ask my elementary school teacher, one of them, who used to remove everything I had in my desk because I would just shove everything in. There was no rhyme or reason. But I was done with them, okay? So if I was done with them, like, whatever. By the way he was putting stuff on the floor did not really... It's a story that I like to tell, but I'm also very stubborn, so I would just redo the same thing the next day. I don't know what it tells about 10-year-old Elodie or 43-year-old Elodie, but all that to say that I can be organized and I can be messy. Knowing that, I also know that having those Post-its on my computer at work was really helpful for me, and I had a to-do list that was tacked to the desk where I could see it. So everything I could see. So that's why the HP90 I thought would be great for me, because you can see everything. However, I noticed quickly that either having too many Post-its on the board is just too much. Visually speaking, it's just way too much. To do it for like a quarter did not work. I thought, okay, but I do need to have something visual. So keeping that in mind, I also thought, okay, let me be more responsible with my time as well, in the sense that I know myself. I know that I get tired more easily. I need to have time to rest, to walk the dog, to do stuff inside the house. And sometimes I need time to take a nap. I'm still learning to accept that fact, and sometimes it's very frustrating, but it's the reality of it is sometimes I do need to take a nap. So I need to keep all of those moving pieces also in mind. So one of the things I've done is I've been better at updating my Google Calendar, which syncs with our Alexa, which then sends me reminders that, for example, my work day ends at 3:30 p.m. And it helps me to not fall into the I can still do one thing trap. Because at work, when I used to have a day job, I mean, yes, I stayed way past sometimes the 8-hour day. Like I would work 10, maybe sometimes more than 10 hours a day. But at some point I had to go home because, I mean, train-wise, if I didn't catch my train, it was much harder to get back home. Right now, I usually start working when I first wake up, and I wake up usually between 5:15 and 6 a.m., and I work until I make breakfast, and I start again around 8 a.m. or 8:30 a.m. If I work later on certain days, I then make it a point to take an afternoon off during the week. And granted, it's mostly because I need to do things in the house or take a nap, but I do make a point of doing that, which has helped me be A, less tired, be more present in a certain way in everything that I'm doing. And again, giving myself grace is part of it. I also know that if I get tired, my SVT, so my heartbeat going much faster, can get triggered more easily. So it's not dangerous, but still I do not recommend. I mean, it's not a 0 out of 10 because, again, it's not dangerous, but it's still not fun. When it comes to keeping track, I have several visual, and today I'll talk about the board. One of my colleagues in the office, what I was talking about, the Zoom that we have, thanks to Becca's Patreon, she has a blackboard with Post-its that are blue and yellow and pink on it. Knowing that, again, doing a quarterly board doesn't work for me. And because I need those things to achieve, to cross them off, to see that I've done them, that I've accomplished something, If it's progress all the time, it's great, but I need to have something that has been done. And doing even all my tasks for the month would be too much on the board that I have. And I'm putting pictures of the board on my Substack. So I've been doing a weekly/daily one every Monday morning or Sunday evening. I've been setting what I know I have to do for the week. There are certain tasks that I need to get done. 2 episodes of my ongoing main Vela story, revising chapters of my steamy rom-com, newsletters, yoga/workout, prepare one of the podcast newsletter about whatever topic I'm going to talk about. And then I also have other tasks that I want to get done. So for example, for this week, I had pen name TikTok videos, bilingual, one dream only, Dutch English, my other Vela story, figure out how to add always second best on YouTube, knowing that my past video maker doesn't seem to be available anymore, send postcards to readers, work on my form for my newsletter for the steamy rom-com, which will be a magnet, post on my author social media, respond to social media, and more. I also add some personal items I want to accomplish, and all of this is color-coded. So bright pink is my Vela, blue is my steamy rom-com, green is social contact with readers, orange is things that I'm doing for work that I think are helpful, or volunteering, or things like that. Purple is personal me. Yellow is my additional stream of income, other pen names, other projects. I have a to-do column, a progress column, and a done column. I also have a reminder box with hard post-its with things happening during the week I need to remember, or things I need to do during the week. That's not a task per se. So it could be like things to remember, like birthdays I want to remember, phone calls that I'm having that I need to remember as appointments. Tasks could be paying the water, paying bills, stuff like that. At the end of the day or the next morning, I put the done post-its in a mason jar so I can see the mason jar filling up with tasks that I've done. And this has helped me a lot because I don't need like days or weeks or months to get things done that are in the progress. Some of them, yes, and that's fine. But I do have tasks that get to the done list pretty easily. And I see it in front of me as I work because I put it in front of my laptop and I can move things around because I am not bound to like the few things that I definitely need to do are the things like my Vela stories, the 2 episodes a week. And I know that. I know those are the things that I absolutely need to do. So those get done on the days that I say they're going to get done. Everything else that I'm accomplishing during the week can be moved around. This makes me much more flexible with my time, that I know also with my energy level, what I might be able to do with what I know I'm going to write, when I'm going to be able to write it, revise it, when is that going to happen. I have a couple of other visuals on my desk too, which have been very helpful. And the 2 things that I have is right in front of my laptop is on my desk. On the right side, I have my board, like my blackboard with all the post-its. And then on the left, I have a little clear kind of book holder or poster holder in a way. And I put over post-its on that. And those are things that I'm reminding myself for my revision that I'm doing. So for example, I had asked a reader, very kind reader, who asked her husband, because he's a paleontologist and the main character in my steamy rom-com is a paleontologist. And I was trying to figure out what were things that a paleontologist would want to know, what kind of humor, what kind of funny stories do they have, or does he have? And she asked her husband, again, very kind, very helpful, and gave me, so then I wrote those things on a post-it so I can see them when I'm revising. And then I also, as I'm revising, I'm finding out some things that I want to add. For example, I wanted a moment where the main character would lose her cool with her kid. And then I wanted to make sure there was a discussion about paleontology, a moment where she thinks that her mom doesn't want to go see her because she got in trouble, like the kid got in trouble. And so it's a defining moment for him because he realizes that his daughter is internalizing some things that are not true. And he wants to make sure that he talks to his ex about it, but he's not at the beginning in a place to talk to his ex about it. And so that's kind of part of the character growth that he has through the book. So those are things that I see right in front of me. And then on the left, I need to put back up. I need to find another spot for it because I got a picture scanner, so I need to move that one on, but I have another board where I have emails from readers or messages or a few reviews that are positive reviews, and basically people telling me how much my books have meant to them. And I can see it because, again, for me, it's important to know that my writing and my books have an impact and make people happy. And I've had certain readers telling me that it's helped them discover their love of reading. Stuff like that for me is very gratifying and very helpful in remembering that what I'm doing matters, which is important to me.
And here's something that I want to also add or re-add, is that a lot of those ideas or the way I'm organizing myself, a lot of it actually comes from other people, like that I've changed or adapted for myself. So I mentioned Sarra Cannon, Becca Syme. I think also listening to other podcasts and listening to how they're organizing themselves. I think pacemaker was something that was mentioned by Golden Angel. I linked to her TikTok. She sometimes does just the tip advice on TikTok for authors. And then, of course, Leslie Penelope, who I mentioned several times. Planners, I have seen some of my friends using them with great success. So yeah, I just wanted to add this again to make sure you know that it's a mix up of a lot of different things that I've managed to find has worked out for me. So again, Sarra Cannon, Becca Syme are the two main ones that I think I've learned a lot, and I've taken tips. The same thing, the positive reviews and the positive things that I can have in front of me also comes from Becca, actually.
So those are some of the things that I've been doing that have been helping me. How do you keep your to-do list organized? Or have you noticed patterns in the way you're tackling some of the tasks that you tackle every day? And another reason I have a lot of projects. And for me, that's a very important part of writing, is that I have this podcast, I have several writing projects, I have the bilingual books. It helps me get more accomplished when I have that many different moving parts. So yeah, again, we'd love to know how you keep your to-do list organized. If you keep a to-do list, if you use planners, how do you get things done if that's your way of looking at it? Maybe you're looking at it a different way. I'd love to hear about that too. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, to all writers out there, happy writing, and to everyone, happy reading.